On the quiet side of Varan Prime, far from busy trade lanes and city lights, the purple forests moved gently under a calm breeze. Thick vines hung from tall crystal trees, and soft lights glowed from strange plants on the ground. The planet looked peaceful, but it was actually full of secrets, many of them still unknown to any living species. Lyra, a young scout from the Sarin race, stood in the center of an old ruin that her people had discovered only a week ago. She looked around with alert eyes, her silver skin reflecting the soft lights from the glowing moss. She carried a scanner in her left hand and a small data tablet in the other. Her mission was simple: scan the abandoned ruins and return with information. Her goal was even simpler: finish the job quickly and go home. Lyra was careful by nature. She did not like strange places, and these ruins were stranger than anything she had seen before. The walls were too smooth, the hallways too perfect, and the symbols carved on the stones did not match any known language. Her people believed the ruins might belong to a forgotten civilization that lived long before the rise of any modern species. Still, Lyra felt uneasy. "It is too quiet," she whispered to herself. Her voice echoed across the empty hall. She took a slow breath and continued forward, scanning each wall, each corner, and each broken pillar. Everything looked safe, until her scanner beeped loudly. A hidden chamber. The scanner showed a small door behind a stone wall, sealed by unknown energy. Lyra felt her heart jump a little. Discovering something new was exciting, but it also meant she had to go deeper, and deeper usually meant more danger. She stepped closer. The wall suddenly rumbled. The stone shifted by itself, sliding to the side to reveal a narrow passage. A soft blue light came from inside the chamber. Lyra hesitated for a moment before walking in. The chamber was empty, at least at first glance. The round room had smooth walls with a faint blue glow that looked like flowing water. In the center stood a tall pod made of clear, crystal-like material. Something soft, a mist, floated inside the pod, moving in slow circles. Lyra stepped closer. Her scanner beeped again. Her heart skipped. There was a life form inside. She wiped the mist off the surface with her hand and looked through the clear material. Her entire body froze. Inside the pod was a human. A real, living human. Lyra had never met one before. Her people knew of humans from distant study files. They were considered behind in technology, still climbing up the ladder of interstellar progress. Most alien species believed humans were strong-willed, but simple, unpredictable, and sometimes too curious for their own good. They were not expected to appear in ancient ruins light years away from Earth. Yet there he was, tall, calm-looking, floating in a state of gentle sleep. His hair was dark, his expression peaceful, almost as if he was dreaming. Lyra slowly reached out to touch the pod, just to make sure she wasn't imagining all of this. But the moment her fingers touched the surface, the pod made a soft humming sound. The mist faded, a soft light flickered, and the human opened his eyes. Lyra gasped and stepped back. She raised her scanner in defense, although she knew it was not a weapon. The human blinked a few times, then looked directly at her. His expression was relaxed, almost friendly. Slowly, he placed a hand on the inside of the crystal shell. Suddenly, the pod opened. Lyra jumped back again as the crystal material folded into itself like layers of flower petals pulling inward. The human stepped out. He was dressed in a simple suit, dark, clean, without any markings. Lyra did not recognize the design. He looked around the chamber as if he knew exactly where he was. Then he turned to her. "Hello, Lyra," he said with a calm voice. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. He knew her name. She had never introduced herself. She had not sent any signals. Her scanner was off when she arrived. How do you know my name?" she asked. Her voice shook slightly, something she hated. The human smiled softly. "I've been waiting for you," he said. "Waiting? For her? How?" Lyra did not wait to hear more. She took a step back, then another. Her instincts screamed at her to leave. She turned around and rushed out of the chamber, back through the narrow passage and into the main hallway. Her pulse quickened. Her steps grew faster. She wanted to get out of the ruins and into open air where she could breathe normally again. She reached the main entrance of the ruin, a wide archway made of stone and glowing symbols. She rushed outside into the purple forest. She took a deep breath. But before she could relax, something moved ahead of her. Lyra froze in place. There, standing exactly 20 steps ahead, was the same human. He wasn't breathing hard. He wasn't sweating. He wasn't even walking. He was simply there, as if he had been waiting for her the entire time. "How did you get ahead of me?" she asked. Her voice was small, full of disbelief. He shrugged gently. "You were going to run outside. It was the simplest path, so I walked here." "But I left you behind me," she said. "You were inside the chamber. You couldn't have reached here so fast." The human smiled again. It was not a cruel smile. It was calm, almost understanding. "You turned right at the doorway," he said. "Your steps were light, but your breathing changed. I knew where you would go next." Lyra felt her hands shake slightly. She tried to hide it by tightening her grip on her scanner. "What do you want?" she asked. "Nothing harmful," he replied. "I want to talk." Lyra shook her head. "You shouldn't be here. Humans are not allowed in restricted ruins." "I know," he said, "but I didn't come here by choice." She frowned. "What does that mean?" The human looked up at the sky for a moment, as if thinking about how to explain. Then he looked back at her. "My name is Evan Hale," he said, "and I woke up here only minutes before you arrived." Lyra tried to understand. The pod looked ancient, but he looked completely fine. No signs of long sleep, no weakness, no confusion. Nothing made sense. "Why did you call me by name?" Lyra asked again. Evan took a small step forward, but he kept his hands relaxed at his sides. He made no sudden movements. "I knew your name because I felt you coming," he said in simple tone. "I didn't see you. I didn't hear you. I just knew." Lyra's heart thumped. Humans were not known for any unusual senses. They were normal compared to most alien species. They did not have telepathy. They did not have future sight. They did not appear out of thin air. Yet Evan had done something that she could not explain. He seemed to sense her decisions before she made them. Lyra decided not to speak. She stepped to the side and slowly backed away, choosing a different direction. "I don't want to talk," she said. "I need to return to my ship." Evan nodded politely. "I understand," he said. "But if you go that way, you'll step on a broken root and twist your ankle." Lyra paused. She looked down. There was indeed a broken root exactly where she was about to step. Her chest tightened. She moved the other way instead, walking carefully, keeping her eyes on him the whole time. Evan did not follow her. He simply turned his head slightly, watching her leave with a calm expression, not threatening, but knowing. Like he already understood what she was going to do next. Lyra felt both afraid and strangely curious. Who was this human, really? And how did he know so much? She hurried into the forest, hoping to lose him in the thick trees. But deep inside, she feared she already knew the truth. She could not escape him. Not because he was chasing her, but because he always seemed to appear exactly where she was going next. Lyra ran deeper into the purple forest, moving between tall crystal trees that shone softly in the dim light. Her light steps made almost no sound on the soft ground. She was trained for stealth. Her people, the Saren, were known for speed and reflexes. It was rare for anything to follow a Saren scout once she decided to escape. But this time, something felt different. Something felt wrong. Lyra kept checking her scanner as she ran. It showed no one behind her, no one in front of her, no energy signatures, no footsteps, nothing at all. And yet, she could not shake the feeling that Evan Hale was still ahead of her. The human who shouldn't have been there. The human who somehow knew her movements. The human who appeared at the ruin's exit, even though she saw him inside the chamber moments before. Her breathing grew uneven, but she kept her pace steady. She didn't want to look weak, not even when she was alone. Her mind replayed his calm expression over and over. How did he appear in front of her? How did he sense her thoughts? How did he know she would step on a broken root? Lyra shook her head. She needed to reach her ship. That was her only safe place. She moved quickly through a narrow valley where tall rocks cast long shadows. The path curved sharply and vines hung low from above. Lyra slowed down, pressed her back against a stone wall, and listened. Silence. Only the wind. Only the soft hum of glowing plants. She waited. A minute passed, then another. Still no sound of footsteps. Still no sign of him. Good. Maybe she had finally lost him. Lyra started moving again, taking a small right path this time, a path she had not planned to take. She picked it suddenly, without thinking, hoping that a random choice would break whatever strange sense Evan had. She walked carefully across the uneven ground. Small lights flickered beneath her boots, where tiny insects hid under leaves. Lyra tried to keep her breathing slow. "He cannot predict this," she whispered to herself. She did not choose the path with logic. She did not choose it with instinct. She chose it randomly. No pattern, no plan. It was impossible for anyone to know her next move now. She continued through the forest until she reached a small clearing. The clearing was quiet, with a pool of clear water at the center reflecting the sky. Lyra stepped forward and froze. Evan Hale was standing on the opposite side of the clearing, hands in his pockets. Expression calm as always. Her breath caught in her throat. This was impossible. There was no straight path he could have taken. She chose her route randomly, and still, he was here. He looked up as soon as she entered the clearing, as if he had been expecting her. "Lyra," he said in a gentle voice, "I told you, I'm not here to harm you." Lyra felt frustration burn inside her. She was not angry by nature, but this situation made her feel cornered, and she hated that feeling. "How do you keep getting ahead of me?" she demanded. "What are you doing? Are you using some hidden technology? A teleport device?" He shook his head calmly. "No teleport. No device." "Then what?" she pressed. Evan looked at the pool in front of him for a moment before answering. "I can sense the path you're most likely to take. I don't know everything you'll do, but I can feel possibilities." Lyra didn't understand. "Possibilities?" she repeated. He nodded. "Think of it as small hints, not full visions, not perfect knowledge, just tiny signals in my mind that guide me." Lyra stepped back slowly. Humans were not known for any such ability. They did not have psychic gifts. They did not have mental advanced senses. They were strong-willed and emotional, yes, but no species in the galaxy believed they had special powers. "Humans don't have that kind of ability," she said firmly. "They didn't," Evan replied, "until recently." Lyra felt a cold chill. She tightened the grip on her scanner, even though she knew it was useless. "You should stay away," she said. "I don't want to run anymore, but I won't let you trap me." Evan raised his hands slightly, palms forward. "I'm not trapping you." "Then why do you keep appearing ahead of me?" she asked. "Because you keep running from me," he answered simply. Lyra's pulse quickened again. She took another step back and looked around the clearing. There were 3 possible exits, 3 different paths she could take. She did not choose any of them. Instead, she suddenly climbed the side of a tall rock wall. Her fingers were quick, gripping small cracks. Her feet found small holds. She moved like a shadow, nearly silent. Evan didn't move. He just watched her climb with a calm face. Lyra reached the top and looked down. Evan was still there in the clearing. Good. She ran along the ridge, jumping from rock to rock. Sharp wind brushed against her hair. She moved quickly, hoping to put as much distance between them as possible. Then she leaped onto a high branch of a crystal tree. Then another. Then another. She moved like a streak of silver light through the forest canopy. Below her, there was no sound of pursuit, no footsteps, no voice, nothing. She almost allowed herself to relax. Almost. After several minutes, she dropped from the last tree and landed softly on the ground. Her ship was only a short distance away now. She could see the faint glow of its wings through the trees. She stepped toward it, and her heart stopped. Evan Hale stood in front of the ship. He was leaning lightly against a tree, arms crossed, not in a threatening way, but in a comfortable, casual pose, as if he had been waiting there for a while. Lyra stared at him, unable to speak for a moment. He had not climbed the ridge. He had not followed through the trees. He had not taken any path she took, yet he reached her ship before she did. "How?" she whispered. Evan looked up and met her eyes. "There was a high chance you'd climb the ridge to avoid me. It was also likely you would head toward your ship because it's your safest option." Lyra's legs felt weak for a moment. She steadied herself. "This is not normal," she said. "No human can do this." Evan sighed softly. His expression turned a bit serious. "I know," he said, "but something changed. Humans are starting to develop new types of thinking, quantum thinking, not full control of time, just a deeper understanding of patterns and possible outcomes." Lyra didn't know what to say. Her training had prepared her for dangerous places, aggressive animals, unstable environments. She had never been trained to deal with a human who could sense her movements before she made them. She took a slow breath. "Please," she said quietly, "stop predicting me." Evan shook his head gently. "I'm not trying to. It happens naturally. I'm sorry." Lyra closed her eyes for a moment. She wanted to think clearly, but it was difficult with him always ahead of her. She opened her eyes again. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "I want to talk," Evan said again. "That's all." "And if I still don't want to?" Lyra asked. Evan looked at her with calm honesty. "Then I'll still try to help you," he said, "even if you run." Lyra felt frustration return, and something else too. Curiosity. There was no anger in Evan, no pressure, no threat, only a quiet certainty that made him seem almost unreal. She looked at her ship, then at him. The forest around them was silent, waiting. Lyra didn't know what to do next. She could run again, but she knew deep inside that he would appear ahead of her no matter which path she took. For the first time, she wondered if running was pointless. But she wasn't ready to trust him either. So she stood still, caught between fear, confusion, and a strange spark of interest, wanting answers, yet unsure if she was ready to hear them. And Evan simply waited, as if he already sensed that this moment was the turning point. Lyra stood in front of her ship, breathing slowly, trying to calm the storm inside her mind. Evan Hale remained a short distance away, leaning lightly against a tree, as if he had no fear of anything around him. His calm expression made Lyra feel even more confused. There was no sign of pressure, no sign that he wanted to force anything. He simply waited. Minutes passed in silence. At last, Lyra spoke. "If you want to talk, then speak." Evan nodded gently and stepped away from the tree. He moved carefully, making sure not to startle her. "Thank you," he said softly. "I know this situation is strange for you." "That is an understatement," Lyra replied. Humans are not supposed to be here. And they definitely cannot appear ahead of me again and again. Evan smiled a little. I know it looks strange, but I'm not doing anything magical. I only follow the most likely path. Lyra narrowed her eyes. What does that even mean? How can you know the path before I choose it? Evan took a slow breath and sat down on a smooth rock. He gestured politely for her to sit as well. Lyra did not sit. She preferred to stand with her back straight, ready to leap away if needed. Evan didn't mind. I'll explain, he said, but it's a long story. I have time, Lyra replied, though her tone was still cautious. Evan looked down at his hands for a moment as if gathering his thoughts. Humans have always been curious, he began. We ask questions even when we don't know if the answers will help us. But in recent years, some scientists on Earth started studying how the human brain makes decisions. They wanted to understand why humans sometimes make choices before they even think about them. Lyra crossed her arms. Instinct. Many species have that. True, Evan said. But what humans discovered was more than instinct. They found tiny signals in the brain that activate just a moment before a person becomes aware of their decision. And those signals connected to something deeper. Deeper? Lyra asked. Evan nodded. Quantum-level reactions, very small, but very real. They influence probability. They help the brain sense possible outcomes a moment before they happen. Lyra frowned. That sounds impossible. Evan gave a small laugh, not mocking, just sincere. I agree. When they first discovered it, humans thought it was impossible too. But experiments showed that some people could react to events a split second before they happened. Not enough to change the world, not enough to predict the future, just enough to get hints. Lyra felt a light shiver run through her. The way Evan explained it sounded almost natural, but what she saw earlier was far from normal. So you are saying humans can sense the future? She asked. Not the future, Evan said quickly. Only possibilities. Tiny waves of chance. The brain reacts before we understand it. Some people can feel it stronger than others. And you are one of those people? Evan nodded. But how does that help you appear ahead of me? Lyra asked. You did not just react before me. You knew my entire route. Evan looked thoughtful. I didn't know the entire route. I only felt the path you were most likely to choose. Your breathing, your steps, your fear, all of that helped create a probability. And I followed that. Lyra shook her head slowly. But I changed my path. I made random choices. Even randomness has patterns, Evan said gently. Your mind may think it is choosing randomly, but your instincts still influence your decision. And my mind can read tiny hints from the environment, your footsteps, the direction of wind, the way leaves move. All of that creates small signals. Lyra stared at him for a long moment. So you are not teleporting, she said. No, Evan replied. You are not reading my mind. He shook his head. I can't do that. You are just guessing? Evan smiled softly. Guessing very well. Lyra wanted to argue, but deep inside she knew his explanation made a strange kind of sense. Many species had natural abilities. Some could sense heat from far away, some could taste chemical traces in the air, some could feel electricity in living creatures. Maybe humans were developing something new. Why you? She asked. Why were you placed in that strange pod in the ruins? Evan's expression became more serious. That part, he said. Even I don't fully understand. Lyra tilted her head slightly. What do you mean? When I woke up in the pod, Evan said, I expected to be in a research lab on Earth. That's where I last remembered being. I was part of an experiment to test the limits of quantum cognition. Quantum cognition? Lyra repeated. It means thinking in probabilities, Evan explained. Not perfectly, not always. but more than normal humans. And the experiment sent you here? Evan nodded, but uncertainty flickered across his face. It wasn't supposed to. We were only testing brain signals. There was no plan to send me anywhere. I don't know how I ended up on Varen Prime. When I woke up, the pod opened on its own. The ruins reacted to me. Lyra felt her curiosity deepen. Reacted? The walls glowed, Evan said quietly. The symbols moved. It felt like the ruins recognized something about me. Lyra's heart tightened with concern. Ancient ruins from unknown civilizations were unpredictable. Sometimes they were harmless. Sometimes they responded to energy, emotion, or presence. Sometimes they woke up. "What do the ruins want from you?" she asked. Evan sighed. "I don't know, but I think they brought me here for a reason." Lyra didn't like the sound of that. She stepped closer, not too close, but close enough to show she was listening carefully. "Do you feel any danger?" she asked. "Not directly," Evan answered, "but I feel pressure, like something in the ruins is waiting." Lyra kept silent for a moment. She thought about everything she'd seen today, Evan appearing ahead of her, predicting her movements, waking inside an ancient pod. "Maybe the ruins are connected to your new human ability," she said. "Maybe," Evan agreed, "but I don't think that's all. There is something else. When I use my ability too much, I feel something pulling on me, like the ruins are watching." Lyra did not like that. She turned away from him for a moment, thinking deeply. The forest around them was peaceful, but there was a weight in the air now. Something unseen, something ancient. When she turned back, Evan was watching her calmly. "Lyra," he said softly, "I never wanted to frighten you. I only followed you because I sensed you would find answers faster than I could." Lyra met his eyes. She did not sense any harm in them, only honesty and confusion. "You said you can sense possibilities," she said. "Can you sense mine now?" Evan shook his head gently. "Not when you stand still. I only feel it when you move or make choices. Right now, you're thinking about too many options at once. The signals cancel each other out." Lyra let out a slow breath she didn't know she was holding. So he wasn't reading her mind. He wasn't controlling her. He was just reacting to her patterns. Still, she had one more question. "If you sensed so much," she asked, "then why didn't you know I would run from you?" Evan looked down and smiled in a quiet, almost shy way. "I did know," he said, "but I didn't want to stop you. I didn't want to take your choice away." Lyra blinked. For the first time, she saw something in Evan she hadn't noticed before, not just calmness, but respect. He never trapped her. He never forced her to speak. He simply followed the path she chose, even if it took him ahead of her. She stood silently for a long moment. Then she finally said the words she had been afraid to say. "Evan, I think the ruins want something from us. Maybe from both of us." Evan nodded. "I feel the same." The air around them seemed heavier now, as if the ancient world listened to their conversation. "What do we do?" Lyra asked quietly. Evan looked toward the ruins in the distance. His eyes were calm, but there was a shadow of concern behind them. "We go back," he said. "Together. Because I think something inside those ruins is waking up." The quiet morning inside the old research station felt warmer than usual. Soft rays of a pale sun moved across the metal floor as if they were trying to change the mood of the day. Lyra stood near the long window, watching the distant mountains glow with a gentle blue. The air looked peaceful, but her heart was still not calm. She knew Ezra was somewhere behind her, working on the central console, giving her space yet keeping a quiet watch. Ezra had not said much since they returned the night before. He only told her she needed rest, and then kept himself busy checking the damaged parts of the station. Lyra felt unsure. She wanted to thank him for saving her, even though she had tried to run from him. But the words felt heavy and strange in her mouth. After a long moment, Lyra turned away from the window and walked to the small table near the center of the room. Ezra looked up as she approached. "Good morning," he said politely in his usual calm voice. "Yes, good morning," she replied. Ezra waited, as if he sensed she had something more to say. When she did not continue, he returned to tightening a loose panel on the console. The quiet between them stretched, but it was not uncomfortable. It felt like both of them were thinking about the same question. What happens now? Lyra finally sat down. She tapped her fingers on the table, trying to find courage. "You knew where I was running," she said at last. Ezra nodded. "Yes." "And you still came after me?" "Yes." "Even though I was trying to leave you behind?" Ezra placed his tools down and looked at her with steady eyes. "I did not follow you to control you. I followed you because I did not want you to be in danger. You were alone. The storm was growing, and you were scared." Lyra lowered her gaze. I did not trust you." "I know," Ezra said gently, "but I hoped, if I did the right thing, maybe one day you would." Lyra slowly lifted her eyes. "You appeared in front of me so fast. It felt like magic. I did not understand how you moved like that." Ezra let out a small, friendly laugh. "No magic, just human training. And the station's old transport nodes. I activated a jump pad and reached the opposite corridor before you turned." Lyra blinked, surprised. "So that is how you always reached me first?" "Most of the time," he admitted. Even though it was a simple explanation, something warm bloomed in Lyra's chest. Ezra was not some strange, impossible being. He was skilled, clever, and prepared. And he had used all that not for control, but for her safety. Ezra adjusted the console again and said, "I know you do not want to be trapped. I will not stop you from leaving. But I want you to understand the world outside this station is not kind. Your people may search for you. You need to decide carefully." Lyra folded her arms, thinking. For most of her life, she had been trained to believe humans were unpredictable, too bold, and too difficult to understand. But Ezra, he was different from those lessons. He was calm, patient, and respectful. And even when she resisted him, he had protected her without hesitation. She took a deep breath. "Ezra, I want to understand humans. I want to understand why you risk so much for others." Ezra paused, then smiled softly. "Humans are far from perfect, but we try. Sometimes we try too hard, sometimes not enough. But when someone is in need, even a stranger, many of us cannot walk away." Lyra looked at him closely. "Is that why you saved me?" "Part of it," he said, "but also because you are strong. You remind me of people I admired. You run fast, you think faster, and you want freedom. I respect that." Lyra felt heat spread across her cheeks. She was not sure how to respond to such words, so she only nodded. Ezra stood up. "There is something I want to show you. Come with me." Lyra followed him through a corridor she had not explored before. The door opened into a small room filled with old holographic screens and data crystals. Dusty shelves lined the walls. It looked like a forgotten archive. Ezra activated a screen. A soft light filled the room, revealing images of different human outposts across the galaxy. There were planets with green forests, moons with bright silver lakes, and floating cities suspended above gentle oceans. Every place looked peaceful and full of life. "These are human settlements?" she asked quietly. "Yes," he replied. "We build where we can grow. We build where we can learn. Many humans work to make places safer, cleaner, kinder. Not all of us succeed, but we keep trying. Lyra stared at the images. They were nothing like the reports she had been taught as a child. She had seen only warnings, only stories of conflict and fear. This view was different. It was hopeful. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. Ezra's voice softened. "Because I want you to know humans are not only what the legends say. We are dreamers. We are builders. And we do not always give up even when others expect us to." Lyra turned slowly toward him. "You think I should stay here? With you?" Ezra did not answer immediately. He placed his hands behind his back and spoke carefully. "I think you should choose what makes you feel safe. I will not keep you here. But I want you to know. If you stay, you will not be alone. I will help you understand this world. I will teach you anything you want to know." His words struck her heart with gentle strength. She had never been offered something like this. Freedom and guidance together. Protection without force. Choice, not orders. She whispered, "Why do you care so much?" Ezra smiled again, but this time it was softer, almost shy. "Because caring is what makes us human, and because I believe you will do something great one day. I want to help you reach that place." Lyra felt a warm flutter in her chest. For the first time since she arrived on this planet, she did not feel like a runaway. She felt seen. Ezra turned off the screen and said, "Come. There is more to prepare. If you decide to stay, we must fix the station. If you decide to leave, I will help you pack supplies." Lyra followed him out of the archive room. Her footsteps were light, but her thoughts were full. She walked behind him, watching the way he moved with calm confidence. She realized she was no longer afraid. She realized she wanted to know more about him. As they stepped into the main hall, a soft breeze from the ventilation system brushed against her hair. Lyra whispered under her breath, "Maybe. Staying is not such a bad choice." Ezra turned slightly. "Did you say something?" She quickly shook her head. "No, nothing." He smiled knowingly, but did not press her. Lyra stood beside him as he began repairing another control panel. She watched his hands move with careful skill, and for the first time she felt the future opening in a new direction, one she had not imagined before. A direction where she was no longer running, a direction where Ezra walked beside her. The soft hum of the research station filled the air as another quiet morning began. The sky outside glowed with a gentle silver light, and thin clouds drifted over the distant blue mountains. Lyra woke slowly, sitting up on the small bed Ezra had repaired for her. She stretched her arms and let out a calm breath. Something inside her felt different today. Not fear, not confusion, but something warm and steady. She stepped out into the hallway, her footsteps light against the metal floor. Ezra was already awake, standing near the central control table. He was checking a holographic map, his eyes focused but calm. When he heard her approach, he looked up with a friendly smile. "You slept well?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra said softly. "Better than I expected." Ezra closed the map and turned to face her fully. "I'm glad. Today is important." Lyra nodded slowly. She knew what he meant. Today she had to decide, stay with Ezra in the human research station or leave and take her chances alone in the world outside. She had been thinking about it the entire night, her mind full of memories from the last few days. Ezra finding her in the storm, Ezra appearing in front of her when she tried to escape, Ezra protecting her, guiding her, teaching her. She had run from him again, and he had never shown anger, only patience, only care. But making a choice still felt heavy. Ezra stepped closer. "We do not need to decide instantly. We can take the morning to talk." Lyra hesitated. "I think I am ready to decide. But I want to understand one thing first." Ezra nodded. "Ask anything." She studied his face for a moment, trying to find the right words. "Why did you not give up on me?" she asked softly. "Even when I pushed you away? Even when I tried to leave?" Ezra looked at her with quiet seriousness. "Because you deserved safety. Because you were alone. Because you reminded me of someone strong I once knew. And because helping someone find peace is worth the effort." Lyra's heart warmed. His words were simple, but they held so much meaning. Ezra continued, "I did not want you to make choices from fear. I wanted you to choose from understanding." She nodded slowly. "I think I understand now." Ezra stood still, waiting. He did not push. He did not rush. He simply waited, as he always did. Lyra breathed deeply and looked around the station. She saw the small tools he had organized on the table, the repaired panels, the holographic devices he kept adjusting to make things safer for her. She remembered the archive room he had shown her, the images of peaceful human settlements, full of light and hope. And then she looked back at him. "I want to stay," she said. Ezra blinked, surprised for just a moment. Then he smiled, warm and sincere. "If that is your choice, I will support it fully." "It is," she said. "I do not want to run anymore. I want to learn. I want to understand this world. And I want to stay near you." Ezra lowered his gaze briefly, a gentle expression crossing his face. When he looked up again, his voice held quiet strength. "Then we will face everything together." Lyra felt something inside her settle, like a puzzle piece finally finding its place. Ezra gestured toward the main control room. "There is something else I want to show you. It may help you understand what staying here truly means." Lyra followed him through the hall until they reached a small chamber she had never entered before. When Ezra unlocked the door, soft white lights flickered on. The room held several devices, old but well-maintained. A large holographic table stood in the center. Ezra pressed a button, and a glowing projection rose above the table. It showed a map, an enormous map of the region around the research station. Lyra's eyes widened. "This is the world outside?" "Yes," Ezra said. "The mountains, forests, old pathways, hidden valleys, everything within 500 kilometers. Lyra stepped closer, studying the details. There were safe areas marked in green, dangerous zones marked in yellow, and unknown regions in gray. Ezra pointed at the green areas. "These are places where the environment is stable. If you ever explore, we will start there." "We?" Lyra asked, looking at him with a small smile. Ezra returned the smile. "Of course, I did not bring you here to face things alone." Lyra felt a soft warmth spread through her. She traced her finger through the holographic air, touching the shapes of valleys she had never seen. "This world is beautiful," she whispered. "It is," Ezra agreed. "And we can learn it together." Lyra turned to him, her voice filled with curiosity. "Can humans really adapt anywhere?" Ezra nodded calmly. "We try to. But what makes us strong is not just our ability to survive. It is our ability to stand beside others, to help, to build trust, to keep going even when things are uncertain." Lyra looked down at her hands. I want to learn that too." Ezra's voice softened. "You already have. You faced fear and still chose understanding. That is strength." Lyra felt a quiet happiness rise in her chest. She had spent her life believing humans were unpredictable and difficult. But Ezra showed her something different. Humans could be patient, kind, and steady. As they stepped back into the hallway, a small alert tone sounded from the main monitor. Ezra walked over to check it. Lyra followed, curious, but calm. "It is a weather update," Ezra said. "A gentle breeze today. Clear skies this evening." Lyra smiled. "Peaceful." "Yes," Ezra said. "A good day to begin something new." She walked beside him to the workstation. Ezra handed her a small device, smooth, round, and glowing softly. "What is this?" she asked. "A personal comm device," Ezra said. "It lets us talk even if we are in different parts of the station or outside. If you get lost, it will help you find the way back." Lyra held it in her palm, feeling its warmth. "You made this for me?" "Yes," Ezra said simply. "I want you to feel safe." Lyra looked up at him, touched by the gesture. "Thank you, Ezra." He nodded. "We will train together, explore together, and you will not have to run alone ever again." Lyra smiled, small but strong. For the first time since she left her home, she felt she belonged somewhere, not because she was forced, but because she chose it. Ezra started adjusting tools on the table. "We should prepare the greenhouse next," he said. "It will help us grow food and study the plants of this region. It is peaceful work. I think you will enjoy it." Lyra nodded eagerly. "I want to help." As they walked toward the greenhouse door, sunlight streamed through the small windows, painting the floor with soft gold lines. The research station, once strange and cold to Lyra, now felt warm and alive. She could hear the quiet hum of machines, the gentle buzz of the lights, and the soft rhythm of her own footsteps beside Ezra's. She felt safe. She felt understood. She felt at home. Ezra opened the greenhouse door and stepped aside to let her enter first. Lyra walked in, breathing in the fresh scent of growing plants and new beginnings. The future stretched before her like an open path, wide, bright, and full of possibilities. Ezra joined her inside, and for a moment they simply stood together, watching the small plants sway gently in the breeze. "This is a good place to start," Ezra said. Lyra nodded. "Yes, it is." And so, the girl who once ran through storms now chose to stay. She chose learning over fear, curiosity over doubt, and trust over loneliness. And beside her stood the human who never gave up. Together they stepped forward into a future filled with light, discovery, and hope. A future they would build side by side.